Welcome. In this explainer, we're going to tackle 25 new vocabulary words that you'll definitely need for your IBA admission test. Our goal here is to make these words really stick in your memory, so we'll break them down into simple, super clear ideas. So here's our game plan. We've organized the words into 6 different themes. Trust me, this helps a ton because you'll see how they connect, which makes them way easier to remember. All right, let's dive into our first group. This one is all about people, power, and how we influence and react to one another. Okay, first up, let's look at 2 words that sound so similar but have totally different meanings. To ingratiate is a verb. It's an action. It's when you try to get someone, like your boss or a teacher, to like you, maybe by giving them lots of compliments or doing extra favors. For instance, the new employee tried to ingratiate himself with the team by bringing coffee for everyone. But on the other hand, an ingrate is a noun. It describes a person. An ingrate is simply an ungrateful person. If you helped a friend move all day and they didn't even say thank you, you might call them an ingrate.
Here we have a pair of exact opposites. To enthrall someone is to totally capture their attention, almost like magic. A really good movie or a fantastic story can enthrall you. For example, the speaker enthralled the audience with stories of his travels. Now, the opposite, disenthrall, means to set someone free from a belief or an idea that was kind of holding them back. You could say, reading books from different cultures can disenthrall you from narrow-minded views. This next pair is all about cause and effect. To cower means to shrink back in fear, kind of like a small animal hiding from something big and scary. For example, the little boy cowered behind his mother during a loud thunderstorm. So what would make someone cower? Well, being cowed. To cow someone means to use fear or threats to make them do what you want. So you could say, the dictator tried to cow the citizens into silence. So to be privy to something just means you know a secret. You're on the inside in a position of trust, and you have information that most people don't get to hear. For example, as the lawyer's assistant, he was privy to all the details of the confidential case. Okay, let's move on to our second section. This one's about big crowds of people and the confusing ideas that can sometimes sway them. Let's kick this section off with a simple question to help us with 2 words that are super easy to mix up. Are we talking about a huge, messy crowd or a hidden pile of treasure? And here's the answer. A horde is a large, messy, and often pretty loud group of people. Think of a horde of fans rushing towards the stage. But a hoard, spelled with an A, is a hidden collection of valuable stuff. It can also be a verb. So you might say, squirrels hoard nuts for the winter, or the pirate discovered a hoard of ancient gold coins. See the difference? Now, a throng is also a large crowd, a lot like a horde. But here's the key difference. A throng is a densely packed crowd. Imagine a super busy market or a subway station during rush hour. You could say, a throng of commuters pushed their way onto the train. It can also be used as a verb, like, fans thronged the airport to see the celebrity. So what kind of ideas can fool a crowd? Well, delusive ones. If something is delusive, it's misleading or based on a false belief. It's basically designed to trick you. For instance, the advertisement made the delusive claim that the pill could help you lose weight without any effort. All right, now for a group of words that actually tell a little story. It's a story about things getting smaller or weaker and how that can change how things, or people, look. Check out this process. It starts with either attrition or diminution. Attrition is a slow, gradual process of becoming weaker or smaller, usually because of constant attack or pressure. A long war, for instance, might end through attrition, as both sides just run out of soldiers. Diminution is a bit more general. It just means something is getting smaller or less. There was a clear diminution in his interest for the project. Now, this decline can lead to being destitute, which means being extremely poor, without basic things like food or a home. The long illness left the family destitute. And, this kind of hardship can really change how a person looks. They might appear haggard, which means looking exhausted, thin, and just unwell. After weeks with little sleep, the student looked haggard. Or their face could be ashen, which means super pale, usually from shock, fear, or sickness. His face was ashen when he saw the accident. Our next group of words is all about harsh actions. These are 3 really strong verbs that describe different ways of attacking or destroying something. Okay, let's break down how these 3 types of attacks are different.
To skewer something is to criticize it very, very sharply, often with some wit or humor. The late-night host skewered the new policy in his opening monologue. To scathe is also about harsh criticism, but it's much more serious and damaging. There's no humor here. A scathing review can literally ruin a restaurant's reputation. And finally, to rend is usually a physical action. It means to tear something apart violently. The powerful winds could rend the sails of the ship. It can also be used for really strong emotions like the sad news will rend your heart. In this section, we're going to explore two opposite ideas. On one hand, creating order and harmony, and on the other, dealing with forces that are just completely out of our control. So when you have a complex problem, maybe a mystery, what do you need to do? You need to unravel it. This means you solve it by carefully figuring it out, piece by piece, just like untangling a knotted rope. Scientists are still trying to unravel the mysteries of the universe. And after a group has unraveled a problem, the best possible outcome is an accordant solution. Accordant just means everyone is in agreement or harmony. The jury reached an accordant verdict. That means they all agreed on the decision. Simple as that. But while we try to find these accordant solutions, some things are just not in our hands. This brings us to the idea of fate. Fate is the belief that our lives are already planned out, that certain things are just meant to happen. It's really another word for destiny. You might say, he felt it was his fate to become an artist. And for our final section, let's look at a few abstract qualities. These words describe bigger ideas like patterns, time, and how we measure things. This slide has 4 really distinct ideas. First, venation. This is a pretty specific scientific word for the pattern of veins you see on a leaf, or maybe an insect's wing. It's all about natural design. Next up, antiquity. This refers to the very, very distant past, especially the time of classical civilizations like ancient Greece or Rome. The museum had many beautiful statues from antiquity. Then we have plenteous, which is just a fancier way to say plentiful or a lot. For example, the region is known for its plenteous harvest of apples. And finally, imperceptible. If something is imperceptible, it's so small or slow or subtle that you just can't notice it. The movement of the hour hand on a clock is imperceptible. Our final word is credit, and it has 2 really common meanings that are important to keep separate. First, there's the financial meaning. Credit is the ability to buy something now and pay for it later. She has a good credit score, so the bank approved her loan. But the second meaning is all about recognition or praise. If you give someone credit, you're saying, hey, you did a great job. The coach gave credit to the entire team for the victory. And there you have it. We've just unraveled 25 new words. The best way to really learn them and make them yours is to actually start using them. So, which new word will you try to use in a sentence today?